Hey folks, I have read, no, I have not read, I have listened to your voice threads related to the debate on mandatory staffing ratios and have provided feedback to you in the rubric that's associated with this assignment. Please go back through and read the feedback that's been provided. There was a little bit of confusion about the first step of how to approach the voice thread and understanding that everything needed to be put on the primary thread that I had posted for your review. I tried to find all the comments, all the posts, whether they were on the primary thread or whether a few of you had inadvertently done your own voice thread. I went through and tried to find everything. So if your grade does not reflect that I found something, please email me and let me know. I'm happy to go back in and regrade it. I really am excited by using the voice thread. I think it's a great way to create more engagement and more a feeling of community and an easier dialogue about a topic than I think discussion boards do. But I realize that when you're introducing new technology, sometimes there's a learning curve. My hope was that by having you do your personal introductions using VoiceThread and then having another assignment using VoiceThread, that you'd be pretty comfortable with the flow of things and what that looked like from an application standpoint. I'd love your thoughts about VoiceThread. This is the first course I've used it in. I come from a background where a lot of online courses heavily rely on discussion boards, and I find that discussion boards can just be another way for people to chop up a paper and put it online, and that there really isn't much engagement that happens in a discussion board format. I'd love for your thoughts about, is the hassle of learning a new technology, does it enhance your learning? Has it been a better experience, or do you just like discussion boards? So I'm always interested in knowing that. So feel free to send me an email and tell me what your thoughts are about the using a voice thread and whether you feel like it maybe has enhanced your learning or made you even feel more connected to your class. For me, from a grading standpoint, it was so much more fun reading, listening to your voice threads and listening to your passion and your excitement about the topic, listening to you articulate your own stories and your own experiences. To me, that was so much more robust and so enriching for me to evaluate you on. From a grading standpoint, I really like it. Today was a little bit of an Easter egg hunt, which is aptly timed because Easter's this weekend. I did feel like I was looking for a few Easter eggs, but appreciate your diligence in navigating the technology and for you being willing and brave to go do something new. I hope that it's been a favorable experience for you. Loved so many of your ideas, and I think the vast majority of you came away from this topic thinking the same thing I did, which is we've been having this conversation for generations. How do we properly staff a hospital to ensure patient outcomes? So what we know from the literature is that the more licensed professionals you have, the decrease events or negative patient outcomes occur. So common sense says bulk up on nursing, registered nurses, so that we have improved patient outcomes. Well, that's great, except then you have to deal with the reality, and it is a reality, of a nursing shortage. And the nursing shortage creates a competitive market and makes nursing labor hours extremely expensive. So how do you remain fiscally solvent as an organization, keep my doors open, because if I don't have my doors open, I can't pay any nurses, and then how do I recruit, retain, and train properly professionally qualified nurses? There's no easy answer. So I appreciate you guys putting your toes in the water and sharing your experiences. So many of you had harrowing experiences of these really stressful events that occurred in how you manage staffing. I think your classmate Josh wins the award for the most nightmarish experience. He described having starting out with the day with 7 patients that he discharged all of, and then got 7 new replacement patients. I honestly think that would have driven me to truck driving school. I cannot imagine having my hands on 14 different patients in a shift, and the risk of patient harm is real. So Josh's narrative about what that was like as a new nurse and how that created an incentive for him to want to make practical changes in his practice environment was really well done. Another one of your classmates, Emily, talked about, found an article that dealt specifically with failure to rescue and the relationship with licensed staff. Several of you hooked into Emily's comments about failure to rescue, and if we had more nurses, we would have better outcomes. And then talked about, so many of you made the comment, if we only had more hands. what we're finding is when there are mandatory nursing ratios, licensed ratios, that how that's being managed by many hospitals is they get rid of unlicensed personnel. They get rid of your licensed vocational nurses, your LPNs or licensed practical nurses, or they get rid of your certified nursing assistants or your monitor techs or your clerical staff, and they add a few nurses, but it's not a one-for-one replacement. So while a nurse may now have a 4-to-1 ratio, their total care, there's no one filling water pictures and helping with trays and turning patients and making sure everyone is getting a good bath or even answering call bells. So we're almost robbing Peter to pay Paul to be able to get the numbers right when we're robbing the numbers from another vital resource, which is our unlicensed assistive personnel, our support staff. So I love the fact that you guys were you were having these conversations and you were paying attention to the complexity of the issue. I think that segues really nicely into our week 6 work, which is the topic for this week is focusing on how we are managing our delegation responsibilities as professional nurses. Please know that I'm aware that week 6 on your topical outline or your calendar, I think it says managing professional conflicts. That got changed to the nurse leader's role in delegation because the delegation element had not been addressed. So I think at the last minute I tweaked that and then was remiss in going back and changing the title of week 6. So please forgive me. Know that your review this week really does focus on the act of delegation. One of the reasons it's a priority is that we do it fairly poorly. We either don't delegate anything because no one does anything the way as well as I do, so we hoard our responsibilities, or we over delegate, or we delegate to the wrong people. And when we hand things off, we literally hand them off. We don't retain ownership of the outcome. So when I have a support staff that are responsible for turning my patient or giving them baths or assisting them to activities of daily living or taking them to transport, I retain responsibility for the outcome of those events, and I have to follow up and support the people that are empowered with the responsibility to help me take care of my patients. And remember, they always remain our patients, even when another person is providing care. So what I have you doing this weekend, your discussion board, your good old plain old fashioned discussion board, you post a primary thread, you reply to a peer, make sure you have a scholarly support for both. In your discussion board, you're going to explore the Nurse Practice Act related to delegation. And I just want you to give thoughts to what your organization is doing as far as delegation. Do you use your unlicensed assistive personnel effectively? Are you supported by your Nurse Practice Act? I think the vast majority of you guys are from South Carolina. If you're from another state, I don't know why I think I have somebody from North Carolina. I could be wrong here. Whatever state you're from. If you're from South Carolina, please use the South Carolina Nurse Practice Act. Otherwise, you can use whatever Nurse Practice Act covers your state. And I want you to look at what does the Nurse Practice Act say? How does it relate to your organization? And then look at it from a leadership's perspective. There are actually 3 specific questions that are posed to you that I want you to address. The big takeaways are making sure that you're supporting your insights and ideas with a scholarly support. This week, it is okay if your scholarly support is the Nurse Practice Act. Just make sure you're properly citing it because that's an external source in addition to your reading. So I'm okay with you using that as your scholarly support. I think, let me make sure I've hit all of my notes for you. Nope, I think that's everything. Again, I appreciate your thoughts and insights about what safe staffing looks like, and I appreciate the fact that so many of you were connecting acuity and qualified nurses and what qualified nurses look like, and really thinking about the patient outcomes. It's one of these discussions that I would love to have in the classroom and actually have with live students because it's such an important topic. My hope is that as you follow through with how we keep patients safe, that you move that into week 6 and look at delegation. Just a reminder, week 7 is going to be your last week, and week 7 is your wrap up for your quality project. Folks, if you had part one, if you wandered off course a little bit, you need to be in touch with me and talk to me about how you're going to get more focused on the specific quality issue before you get halfway through week 6 and run out of time, week 7 and run out of time. So be sure that you're reading feedback and touch base sooner rather than later if you have questions or need assistance in sorting out part 1 so that you do not transfer errors or gaps in your work from part 1 and accidentally put them into part 2. I don't want a different academic outcome for you if you've made a misstep in the first part. So as you can see here at home, Madeline and Gracie, it is nap time. So I'm going to wrap up here and finish some more grading. If you need anything, know that I'm here. You are well on your way to wrapping up the course. I hope if you are needing assistance that you're reaching out, remember to use the Ask the Professor link for the logistics questions and anything personal to your own experience, please email me. Have a great week, folks.